What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr Wargames, and today I am bringing you a test and combo video for the 100 Apple Swordsoul profile I showed you guys the other day. You lot seem to enjoy that so much that I thought it'd be good to show you the consistency of this deck and how it can make certain plays and lineups for the upcoming format. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe, especially if you want to see more 100 Apple content, stuff like Dragon Link or of course Synchrons as well. It's a really cool card and I do advise everyone to be picking this up if you play any of those type of decks or a deck that puts a non-effect monster on the board. So after all of that, we're going to do a shuffle and a cut and we'll do 2 test runs going first, 2 going second, starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. That's a really good start. So you've got a couple of options here. The only thing if you start with Moyi is you don't play around, or even if you start with Ecclesia, you don't really play around like a Draw and Lock bird, because the idea is you kind of want to get into like a Baron or a Negate before that happens. If you're worried about Draw and Lock bird, my opinion, I would start with Long One, and the only thing you're running into with a Long One is running into a Gamma. Now with the long one, I would discard the Moyi because a normal summon of Ecclesia can get me a Moyi or a Tyre, so I've got the best of both of that option. You've also got Heavenly Dragon Cycle, which will allow you a circle that will allow you to tag out the Moyi when you normal summon it or get to it off of Ecclesia. The only issue is if you normal the Ecclesia, tag it out and it gets ashed, there's not really anywhere you can go from that point. So playing through multiple hand traps with a hand like this could be a little bit tricky, dependent on which way you start. If you're not worried about Droll, then you start with Moyi. If you're worried about Droll but not worried about Gamma, start with Long One. So we'll start with Long One. Actually, no, we'll disrespect Droll a little bit. We'll start with Moyi. So we're going to also on Moyi, we're going to reveal the Long One, you're going to spawn the token, and then because you control a non-effect monster, you can special summon down the Apple Dragon. Now at this point, it's up to you if you want to make a Chaos Angel that means your synchros are unaffected by your opponent's activated monster effects and they can't be destroyed by battle, or if you want the Search and you just want your synchro monsters to be unaffected by your opponent's monster's activated effects. I'm going to go with just the activated effects on this one, but if you did want to go into protected from battle as well, rather than going into Yugioh, you go into the Draco Berserker, the Tenyi, and you will be able to get it back later on, but it's just whether or not you wanted to search for Yugioh or not. You can still get to this a little bit later on, but it dictates some of the plays you're going to make. So we go 1 Moyi, 2 Yugioh, and off of the back of this, you're probably going to want to go for either a Summit, which will allow you to extend your plays a little bit further on, or you're going to want to go into something like Blackout. Now I'm going to show you the Summit play because I'm going to show you how this has uses, especially with 100 Apple Dragon, to give you another level 8 later on in the day. So cutting this up, shuffling this up, drawing 1 card off of Moyi. So we've replenished our entire hand. Wow, Emergence, that's pretty nice. We've got a follow-up for the next turn. So now what you want to do here is you still have the ability of activating Long One. That's probably where your Emergence is going to go. You can later on tribute off the token off of this. So just so you can see where we're going to go with this one, you're going to go into, I quite like going to Chaos Angel. Like the more and more I've tested this, I've started going Chaos Angel more than Baron off of this play. I just like the idea because Baron, if you go into the Shaman play, as I mentioned, you can't use this effect that turn. So if they still have Nibiru, they'll clear your board. Whereas with Chaos Angel, your synchros will still stay. So you're still in a very good position. So now at this point, what you want to do is you can activate the Long One. I'm going to get rid of the Emergence. If you wanted to deck Fin, you could activate the Emergence and search out a Tyre or a Moyi. It doesn't really matter what you're going to search out because you're going to be sending it anyway. Because you do control a Synchro monster, you can actually just add a Worm monster, which will be more beneficial for you. So I'm actually going to add the Ashuna. We'll then use Long One's effect. We'll discard the Ashuna, get that to the graveyard, spawn a token. There we go. We're then going to sync these together. Now, if you're not going to go through the Strategist play, the Shaman play, you go for a Baron. If you are, then you go through, go into your Sovereign. So it depends which one you want to go for. It depends if you want the Omni Negate or if you want to add this on. Considering these are unaffected by your opponent's monster's activate effects, they're in a good position for either or. I'm actually going to go for Sovereign because I can get an additional draw. So now with a hand like this, what you want to do is you can actually activate Summit and you're going to bring back, now keep in mind because you control a Synchro, you could bring back your Yugioh straight away. That is an option for you. I'm actually going to bring back Long One because I'm then going to banish the Apple Dragon, and the Apple Dragon is going to spawn me a card that can be used as a token or a non-tuner. I'm not locked into worms yet, but I will be locking myself into worms a little bit now. So we've used Summit. We're going to activate the Yugioh because we're going to try a non-effect monster. This is going to let us summon a Tenyi from the deck, and the one you're probably going to want to go to is either Adhara or you'd go for Shafana. It doesn't really matter because you're only going to really use them as link fodder unless you're going second, and then you could technically use the Shafana as material for a Horus. So what you do here is you're going to take, I'm actually going to link this off first to go into Monk just to guarantee that I've got a non-effect monster on the board. If I wanted to, and I wanted to turn this token into another monster, I could do with a cycle, but I'm actually going to hold this on. Activate the Adhara, we'll add back the Yugioh, so we've got follow-up plays for the next turn. And then you're going to synchro these together, so your level 2 token plus your long one. And you're going to go into an 8. Now, it's entirely up to you. You can go for another Yugioh, or you can go for a Draco Berserker. It doesn't really make much of a difference. But you would get one draw off the Sovereign, or if you went with the Baron, you'd have an Omni Negate. So this is what your hand's looking like already. Your graveyard's got the Swordsoul cards in there ready to go. If you were able to get an additional monster to the board, then you would actually get the benefit of going into a Shaman, discard a card, and bring back the Yugioh. So then your end board would be Yugioh, Berserker, Chaos Angel, and Sovereign, and your opponent's already down 1200. Like, end board mental. You can also set this as well, because then during your opponent's turn, you can actually activate this to tribute off the Monk and summon out a Swordsoul. In theory, what you could also do as well is, because you're triggering off a non-effect monster, is you could actually summon out a Moyi. Moyi could reveal your Yugioh in the hand and then get another token. So you're building up your board as well. So that's it for that kind of test down. I think it's going to be very tricky for your opponent to deal with. Yes, only my synchros are unaffected by your opponent's activated monster effects, so they can still just kill the Monk. But it would be pretty kind of cool as well that if you made this with Draco Berserker at the start, then you could also get into double protection. But the issue is you wouldn't be able to make the Berserker. You would actually then go to the Shaman play to bring back the Yugioh. So it shows you a little bit of adaptation, but it also shows you how you can like replenish your hand as well, which is kind of mad. When you consider that and look at the end of that, if any of those cards, remaining cards in my hand, were hand traps, and if they were to clear it, we still had Ecclesia that could be special summoned down, we still had Circle, we still had 2 Yugiohs. Obviously 2 Yugiohs aren't great, but you still have those options as well. So we'll shove this up, we'll go first again, and then we'll start going second to show you how the aggressive option works. So our second test down of 5 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'll take it. So again, you've got access to a Swordsoul monster and you've got access to a reveal, so very easily Ecclesia can then just tag straight into a Moyi. The only issue with doing something like this is that if you get ashed, you're in a bit of trouble. So I would probably start off with the Yugioh. The Yugioh can then tag itself straight out into a Monk. And the reason you would do this is because even when you normal summon down Ecclesia and then use her effect, if it is to get ashed, you still have the ability to activate the 100 Dragon, and then you can risk it on the Desires. So you've got the option of that one. We'll play out as if we don't get hand trapped. I mean, we haven't really walked into a Droll yet as well, so we're in kind of a good position of that one. So Ecclesia will go for Moyi. You could go in for a Tire to banish the Yugioh from the graveyard, but it's not really worth it. We're going to reveal Summit, which is kind of cool, so because then we spawn a token. Special summon down the Apple Dragon. Now obviously the issue with this one is you are playing straight into Nibiru before even getting to a negate, so you'd have to be a little bit careful, because if they nuke this board, the best you can do is Monster Reborn a Moyi. So it's not going to be the greatest end for you. So we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so we're on our 5 now. You can't even like kind of tag out. So this one's a little bit more risky, but that's just something that you need to keep in mind when you're making your plays. So we'll use Token and Moyi, Yugioh. Again, if you want to protect your stuff from battle, then you go through Berserker instead. We'll go Chaining 1, Chaining 2, so we'll search out directly. Now we've got the ability to go for long one, so we've got a follow-up. You can go for Blackout if you want to be a bit more defensive, but we're not going to do that. Shuffle these up. Draw one off of the Moyi. Oh, another long one. Really? I mean, I probably shouldn't have searched long one. I probably should have searched Emergence. But either doesn't matter. It means I can keep the Summit. Sync these two together. Again, pretty standard on what we want to do here. Chaos Angel or Baron. I think Chaos Angel is probably safer because in this one I'm probably going to end up going into the Shaman play. So you can kind of see that in action as well. Okay, so we've got those. I could go for a Baron still as well, so I can use long one, discarding long one. discard one other Swordsoul card or one more. So I just want to double check because I've never really ever got to a position where I discard itself. There we go. So we spawn him. We spawn the token. You don't need to worry about shotgunning the Ashuna anymore, and that's where the 100 Apple Dragon comes in, because it's invaluable to spawn a token whenever you want, as long as you're synchro summoned. So we'll go for a greedy additional draw this time as well. So we'll go this way. We will burn our opponent for 1200. We can then use Apple Dragon, spawn a Apple token, and then we can banish Ashuna, locking ourselves into worms. But off of Ashuna, what you want to summon is the Adhara. If you wanted to go, actually, let's do it a little bit differently, just to show you something a little bit more defensively, is you can actually go for Vishuddha, and in doing so, what you can do is you can sync the Vishuddha and the token together, and you can go into a virtual world Shen. So obviously, you can still then activate Summit. Summit can then bring back your Yugioh. You can activate Desires if you want to. It's not really going to make much of a difference. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Draw 2. 2 will be Moyi and a Vishuddha, so we've got to follow up for the next turn. But like literally, your end board right now is I've got a monster negate. My cards can't be destroyed by my opponent's activated monster effects, which is mental. Any card sent from the field to the graveyard is banished instead. So very, very good little mini macro for Super Heavy Samurais and Pearlies. And then the Qinglong will also have given me a draw off the back of that as well. So I missed a draw before the Desires. Either way, that's pretty mental. And then if we get a non-effect on our board, we've got Vishuddha bounce. We've got Moyi, which will provide us that non-effect monster, and we'd still draw 1 for turn. So even if this was to be completely obliterated, like let's just say they had Raigeki, you cry a little bit inside, you're still kind of in a good position. So you also get the ability, 2 other monsters from the grave with different original types and attributes, and you can bring back the Shen. So that's kind of cool. So that's just like, you can see that the consistency of this, well, not like full consistency, I've only done 2 test stands, but you can see that there's different routes to get to the end board that you want, depending on what you started with. Yes, 100 Apple Dragon makes such a big difference for the deck. Like, if you don't see it, you're just playing old school Swordsoul, which isn't a massive issue because the deck's still incredibly good, but it's a little bit different from how you'd want to be doing it. So now we'll start going second. So we're going to shuffle these up, and we'll see what the SIP card can do, and if any hand traps are played, we'll try and drop them during our opponent's turn. So 1, really, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Not a bad hand, but again, it's old school version of Swordsoul, which is not an issue at all. So special summon down the Ashuna, tag this out, go into Monk, and you've got this active play now. You haven't, like, apart from activating this in the hand, your opponent might want to Gamma it, which if they do, by all means, but going second, chances of them being able to Gamma it is very, very low. You do also kind of play around draw a little bit here because you have got, the issue is if you activate the Vessel, at the very least, you can set up a Foolish Burial target, which could be something like a Tire. But it's a lot of give and take on this one. Droll would hurt because you've got this that plays into Droll, this that plays into Droll, and this that plays into Droll. So you'd have to be a little bit careful here. Other than that, let's go with suppose safety first, maybe? No, let's save our normal summon. Let's go Emergence. Getting a long one. This is not playing around Droll really, because if they Droll you here, you've got the ability to get a Synchro level 8 and a Synchro level 10. Whereas if you can activate Vessel, the best thing about Vessel is it lets you send any worm. So I can go, okay, cool, I'm going to send Tire because I can use that off the Summit and give me another level 8. And then we'll add, already got an Ashuna, so let's add, I'd only add the Vishuddha for the pure fact of being defensive to try and deal with one of my opponent's monsters. So that's kind of how I would see that. So for this one, because you've got a non-effect monster, you can special summon this down, get it off the board, and then push further forward, or you can use it as fodder off of Long One. Long One's effect, discard the Vishuddha, spawn the Long One token. Vishuddha's effect, banish to bounce the card your opponent controls, and then you can sync these off. Go into your first 10, which isn't Chaos Angel, keep that in mind. So let's go with Baron, just to be defensive. We're not locked into anything as of yet. Burn your opponent for 1200, making your life a little bit easier going forward. And also a Moyi, reveal the Summit, spawn a token. Token of Moyi, go into a level 8. Now, I'm going to be... I've already gone through everything I need, so I'm not going to go for cheese out. I'm just going to be aggressive. So we go with Draco Berserker, effect of Moyi, draw a card. Okay. Still have a non-effect, so I've still got a Shuna root, and I've still got Summit root. So I can then activate Summit if I want to, bring back Tyre. Tyre's effect can then banish any Swordsoul or 1, so let's get rid of Summit. If I want to, I can adapt Tyre's effect, and this would then allow me to technically get into a level 9 or a level 7. So you've got Yazi, or you can go into something else. I'm going to keep it as an 8 because I've got a water and a wind. So we'll go into Baxia. Baxia will then spin back 2 cards. Baron will pop a card. So we've ended up clearing 4 cards on our opponent's side of the field at this moment in time. I still got the ability to activate Desires if I want to. I still also have the ability to banish the Ashuna. Special summon from the deck. Doesn't really matter what you special summon, but I'm going to go for the Adhara. Because then what we'll do here is we'll link these 2 together. We'll go into Shaman. I've already used Baron's effect. I won't be able to use its negate effect, so that's something to keep in mind. I could also use Baxia to pop the Monk and bring back to go into a Synchro level 9 if you're worried about a Nibiru and go down that route. But this one, I'm actually just going to go Aggression, so it's Shaman effect. Probably want to bring back the strongest monster, which sadly is just going to be Tyre. And then Desires, doesn't really matter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. The only issue is if I've just desired into 100 apple, you're probably going to want to keep Monk on the board. So don't show me an apple. Okay, I didn't see an apple. I'm happy with that. And then you just go into Battle Phase. Whereas if you get Shaman and leave an effect monster on the board, non-effect monster on the board, you're still in a good position. So 3k, this is going to attack twice. This is going to clear off at least 2 more monsters. So you've cleared off 6 cards in total from your opponent's board, and then you're still going to have game just here with these 4 cards as well. So that just shows the aggression this deck can produce as well. It's absolutely insane. I still really, really like this, and I feel that the 100 apple, the only thing that makes 100 or would make 100 apple better is if it was a blooming. I suppose with hindsight, I probably could have activated the Monster Reborn, and rather than bringing back Tyre, bring back Monk, because then I can declare an attack with Monk, use Shaman's effect to pop a non-effect, so then technically I get rid of 7 cards. So that would probably be a little bit better. So rather than the extra 800 damage, you get a pop effect off as well. But that's kind of what you can do even without 100 dragon, so really kind of cool. Right, let's move into our final test hand going second. So shuffle, cut, draw, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, where are my blooming hand traps? I'm gonna have to just like, I might have to put more board breakers in this just to kind of deal with it. I mean, the hand is pretty decent here. So activate Ashuna, special summon down the Ashuna. If your opponent tries to do anything, you can circle it out. But you kind of ideally want to circle out the Monk, because then in doing so, like if your opponent is going to try and stop you having a non-effect on the board and they try and pop the Monk, you can circle it, get rid of it, and special one from the deck. So you're in a good position that way there. And also Moyi's effect, reveal Tyre, spawn the Moyi token. There we go. Special summon down 100 apple, sync these. I'm going to go aggression so they can't be destroyed by battle, so we'll go Berserker, Moyi, draw a card, then go these 2, go into can't be destroyed by battle, unaffected my opponent's activated effects, so a very nice Chaos Angel. We'll be able to bring back that later on, so it's not really a big issue. Let's have a look, see what else we've got. So we've got Apple, Banish, spawn a Apple token. And then we've also got the ability to circle this out if you wanted to. That circle is quite useful because that circle can actually turn it into Tyre. The only issue again is its effects negate, so it's not really going to be able to push far. Other than that, you can go to Shaman, bring back Berserker, push plays further forward that way. And this is all before even like attempting to activate Ashuna. So Ashuna for Vishuda. There we go. Just because Vishuda will provide. So Chaos Angels banish the card. When I'm going into Vishuda, so then if you use Vishuda and Monk, you can even use the token if you want to. But Vishuda and Monk goes into Shaman. You can then use Vishuda's effect to banish and bounce. And you still have Desires, and all you really want to be digging off the Desires, like I said, is you only really want to be trying to dig out a long one, or an emergence. So you can activate Shaman, discard the Shafana to summon down the summon back the Berserker from the graveyard, and then activate the Desires. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Draw 2, long one or emergence. Whoa! Not the end of the world. You can still actually activate horror. So banishing this, add back Fishuda or Ashuna. Get there eventually. So you can add that back to the hand. So now, like with hindsight, that's probably where you want to turn Shaman into something else. But you can still activate Circle, get rid of the token because the token's a worm. And because it's a non-effect, you can actually special summon that monster from the deck. So let's go with... actually, no, let's not go with this one. Let's go with Adhara. I know you're going to be like, what? So then you tag out the Adhara and you go into your second monk. And then this is where you've got that the effect I was talking about last time is you declare an attack with Monk, Shaman's effect to pop that card, pop a card. Monk could do a little bit of damage. Berserker's going to get rid of 2 and be buffed. Chaos Angel's going to get rid of another 1 or just do damage, and then Shaman's going to do damage. You've still got follow-ups in your hand because like a normal summon Tire gives you pretty much full combo the next turn. And you're still in a very good position. Plus you've got an Adhara that can be used next turn. You've got Shafana, if they kill the Monk, you can Shafana and bring it back. But the issue is this can't be destroyed by battle, so it's going to be a little bit more tricky for them to deal with. So that's it. That's pretty much it for the test stands. I hope this is kind of showing you a couple of ideas of how the deck can operate. I know there'll be different play styles and different options. Like people would go, oh, well, if I want to play around the Nibiru a little bit more, you'll probably go through Baxia play, which you don't even really need to anymore. Like just going into Chaos Angel protects all of your synchros from Nibiru. So the only time Nibiru really hurts you is if they drop it on you while you're partway through trying to get a token and the Swordsoul and everything else. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and of course, happy dueling.